When you think of the Pittsburgh Steelers of the 1970s and the main reasons they were successful, a couple of big names probably immediately pop to mind. Chuck Noll, Terry Bradshaw, Mean Joe Green, the list goes on and on. Maybe you even thought of some of the lesser known players who, while not in the Hall of Fame and while they are semi-forgotten due to the passage of time, played big roles as well. Names like Rocky Bleier and Dwight White might come to mind. But I guarantee you that when you think of the reasons that Pittsburgh had a dynasty in the 1970s, you don't think of Kermit the Frog. As it turns out though, Kermit actually played a big role in Pittsburgh's defense. Seriously, this is the story behind the Muppet that helped Pittsburgh win a football game. First, we need a bit of context, because this entire premise sounds absolutely absurd on the surface. It starts with Dwight White, one of the more underrated defensive players on Pittsburgh during this stretch. While other players get the bulk of the love, like L.C. Greenwood, Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, and Joe Green, White was also an instrumental part of that Steel Curtain defense. He played 10 seasons in Pittsburgh, was on all 4 of those Super Bowl teams, and made it to consecutive Pro Bowls in 1972 and 1973. During that 1973 season, he was even named a first-team All-Conference selection by the Associated Press. But in 1977, things weren't looking so hot at the start of the year. Off the field, White even admitted that he talked too much, and in the words of Aaron Burr, he needed to talk less and smile more. Some of his comments got taken out of context to make it seem like he was criticizing his offense, which was not his intention at all. Obviously, Chuck Noll did not like this. And on the field, the Steelers were struggling. From weeks 2 through 5, they were just 2-2 and allowed 71 points. While this number isn't terrible by any means, as it's just under 18 points per game, it was right in the middle of the pack of the league, which was obviously a far cry from what they were accustomed to throughout much of the decade. Things weren't looking great for White, and that's when his wife, Karen, came up with an idea. She decided that as a good luck charm, to bring a plush stuffed doll to the game. And that doll was, as you probably guessed by the title, Kermit the Frog. This was right around the time where The Muppet Show was starting to become a cultural phenomenon. Karen brought the doll with her to Pittsburgh's big home game against the Houston Oilers on October 23, 1977. This was a pretty big game. If the Steelers lost, they'd be sitting at 500 6 games into the 14-game season. And with only 4 teams in each conference making the playoffs back then, that would be a tough hole to climb out of. Sure enough, the Steelers' defense got back on track. They won the game 20-14, and they forced 6 turnovers, which was a season high. With the Kermit doll, White had what was without a doubt the greatest game of his career. Despite being a defensive end, he finished the game with 9 tackles, which was the second best total on the team. Even though sacks were an unofficial stat back then, he had 1.5 sacks during this game, and he intercepted not 1, but 2 passes. In his entire 7.5-year career up until that point, he intercepted 2 passes total, and now he matched that in 1 game. It was a career-best game for White in what was a storied career for him, and after the game, he had Kermit the Frog to thank for it. He said, "Kermit's my hero. My wife brought him for me for good luck this week. I owe everything that happened to me today to him." And regarding the 2 interceptions, he smiled and laughed, saying one of the interceptions was for him, and the other was for me. Pittsburgh wound up winning the division with a 9-5 record, making the postseason for the 6th straight season. And if you want to know who to thank, turns out you can thank the continuation of Pittsburgh's dynasty on a talking green frog, and on one of the most iconic characters of all time. Be sure to check out Twitch every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.